mouth has been shedding lately, as you can see on that side. The other day it shed on the bottoms, and the other side just came off on the top yesterday, so now this side's left. The question of the day is, do bearded dragons make good pets? This question isn't sufficiently answered with a basic yes or no. Bedroom Beardy's suggestion would rather be to ask yourself a set of questions that'll lead you to the answer. Actually, 3 of them that we're going to focus on here. And the answer to this question is really on an individual basis. Now, what I will start out with saying is that please, don't make the basis of your decision to buy a bearded dragon on the fact that they look like a cool pet to own. I mean, they are, but, follow along. This happens too often, and there's too many images floating around the internet of dragons owned by people who are not fit to care for them. That's if the abundance of rescues available doesn't give that away. It's sad, it's disgusting, and it'll actually make your stomach turn if you haven't really, if you haven't witnessed any. I know it does ours. This is going to be a brief video, and, our focuses are going to be pretty basic. And it's going to be on the primary aspects to consider before making a bearded dragon a new addition to your family. It's not meant to be thorough. It's meant to help the person who has recently asked themselves the question, or maybe their kid brought the interest to their attention. Is a bearded dragon a good pet for me? Now let's jump to these 3 questions to ask yourself before you decide to bring your new little addition home. Think of what Bedroom Beardy's likes to call the 3 investments of owning a bearded dragon. Money, time, and attention. Side note, where attention is always time, time is not always attention. There's a difference. You alright over there, Nips? Here you go. You being all good and chill over there. Alright, the 3 questions we're going to focus on are, do you have the money? Do you have the time? And are you willing to give the attention? Now let's jump into it. And if I leave anything out, I'm sorry, but this is mostly to get your head wrapped around the idea of what it takes to own a bearded dragon, so that it can help you make the wisest decision for the mental and physical well-being of the animal. That's the most important thing here. Now let's go ahead and touch on the question, do you have the money? Now the initial setup is going to be your biggest period of expense. You're going to have your enclosure. You're going to have your lights, your fixtures for the lights, thermometer, hygrometer, all the pieces needed within the enclosure. Things like the hide, the food, the water bowl, the basking surface, the substrate, and more. Your bearded dragon needs to eat too, so think about food. They're going to need their veggies, they're going to need their meats, aka creepy crawlers, hint hint for those that don't like bugs. Which brings me to an additional disclaimer. If you don't like bugs, a bearded dragon or any other reptile may not be the right pet for you. Or at least if you're not willing to get to become, I guess, at least familiar with bugs. Just a consideration that needs to be thrown in there. Now, I do want to throw this in there as well for those that are willing to become familiar with bugs, I'll say it. Because the reason I say familiar is because like my wife, she'll deal with them for Nipsey. But she's not comfortable with them, she doesn't like them. But this little tip, it's a money saver tip. If you do decide on a bearded dragon after thorough research, becoming okay with your beardy staple meat will be a great benefit to you. And what I'm saying is, when you breed your food, it's a lot cheaper than either getting them from your local pet store or buying them online on a regular basis. And though I didn't get into great detail or anything about, the money that goes into this, so there will be expenses that'll be ongoing, food, some lights. More than likely, you're going to end up changing the fixtures within it. Substrate, when it's young, you'll probably, even if you don't change the substrate that much, when your dragon's younger, more than likely it'll have a different type of substrate than it will when it gets older. Moving on. Let's get to the part whether you're willing to give the attention or not. Now I'll get to this before asking do you have the time, because as mentioned before, attention is time. But the time required, as it's meant here, has more to do with than just showing your dragon attention. Therefore, it's a broader topic, so it's covering more than that, just that specific area. Bearded dragons rarely, if ever, come lovey-dovey out the egg. So if you get them young, even if not from a pet store, more closely cared for, say by a breeder, they're more than likely haven't grown trusting of us giant weird looking creatures yet, so, take that into consideration. Point is, in order for them to warm up to you, it's going to take giving your bearded dragon regular attention so both of you can get to know each other. It's a gradual process, and the time it takes will vary from dragon to dragon, but don't get down on yourself if your dragon's skittish for a while. Be patient. Like mentioned, it takes time, and some dragons longer than others. Attention also needs to go into the detail of the routine you and your dragon are on, from his food to his water to bathing to lights, etc. For instance, the UVB, like mentioned before, it usually doesn't last as long as the UVB bulb itself. It's up to you to figure out when its effectiveness just expires. Paying attention to the size of its food, at different stages in his life. If any changes in consumption of his food. If your bearded dragon's pooping regularly. And so much more. Now let's get to the third question. Do you have the time? Yes, you need to devote time when giving attention to your bearded dragon and his or her routine, and the patterns within his routine, and all and more that was spoken on just before. But your time will be required of other things too. Now it takes time to shop. It takes time to set up and maintain setup, which was briefly mentioned before, but sits well under this question. And where there's more than what will be covered here, I want to stress, most highly under this category, research. Research. Before you get your dragon, when you get your dragon, and always researching from them. Now, of course, once you get past the first two stages of research, the pre-beardy research and the new parent research, the research that you'll do from there won't be as time-consuming. Honestly, it'll hardly feel like a process at all. It'll just be a habit and something you do throughout your daily routine. We did months of research before we even brought Nipsey home, and that wasn't, that doesn't suffice. You don't just do a bunch of research and then finally you just know everything. As we continued our research after we got him home, we came to better understand what we were doing right, but as well as other things that could use attention and really changed completely. Look, there's a lot of opinions out there, and even those that are great owners don't always share the same opinions on the care of a bearded dragon, so at some point, beyond the basics, it's going to take thorough research and confident decision making on your part. Alright, so let's close this out. Look, if you've thought of making a bearded dragon a new addition to the family, I hope this helps you get a good yet basic idea of what it involves to own and care for a bearded dragon, and whether a bearded dragon is a good pet for you. Much more thorough research will be needed, of course, but this video is more directed to those almost ready to make a quick decision that may be regretted later. Nobody wants that, especially for the dragon. Understand too that this is not meant in any way to scare you from wanting a bearded dragon. But like what was latter mentioned, overall, it's about the dragon and this awesome little animal's well-being. We love Nipsey, and we love caring for him, and he's like our kid, no doubt. And we think bearded dragons make great pets. But to get more specific, they make great pets for the right individual or family. As mentioned before, this is not meant to be thorough. More questions and in more detail need to be asked of oneself. Yet because of so, it leaves room for tons of suggestions below. For those watching that may be seasoned Pagona parents, let us know some great questions for the pre-beardy parent to ask themselves to help further make their decision a wise one. Alright, well I hope this helped, and blessings from Nipsey, Kim, and I here at Bedroom Beauties.
To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to the Bedroom Beauties YouTube channel by clicking our logo now in the bottom right corner of this video. Thank you, you're awesome, and we greatly appreciate you. Blessings from us here at Bedroom Beauties.